everybody. Thank you for tuning in for the show. Today we are reviewing Thunderbolts, the newest Marvel movie, directed by Jake Schreier, starring Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, and Hannah John Kamen. This movie is centered around kind of the misfits, if you will, kind of the side characters from the Marvel TV shows and some of the Marvel movies, some villains, side characters. This movie is about them coming together as a team to stop a force that is completely brand new to the MCU. Brings forth Yelena, Bucky Barnes, John Walker, or U.S. Agent, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and my favorite, David Harbour as Alexei, or the Red Guardian. Today we're just going to talk about our thoughts on the film and what we liked about it, what we thought didn't work, and at the very end of the video we'll have a little spoiler section, just talk about some of the more nittier grittier details. And yeah, Marcus, what did you think about it?
Yeah, so I was actually very surprised by this movie. I don't know if I've mentioned in some of the other videos that we've recorded, but I am not a huge, or I haven't been consuming a lot of the TV shows that have been on Disney Plus for the MCU. The only one I actually watched all the way through was WandaVision. So I didn't watch the Falcon Winter Soldier show. I didn't watch Hawkeye, any of that. So I wasn't familiar with really any of these characters. I did see Black Widow, so I was familiar with Yelena. But for the and the Red Guardian, but for the most part, these are all new characters for me. So I wasn't really expecting to like this movie, but it was actually very good. In my eyes, it's kind of a rebirth of what was good about the original MCU, where every single character was so well written and so likable that by the end of it, I really wanted to see more. And I'm excited for Fantastic Four. So yeah, super surprised by this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I've pretty much seen everything Marvel. So I'd seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier and like Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so I had a pretty good familiarity with a lot of the characters, especially like U.S. Agent and John Walker, and I was glad to see him come back. I feel like he played a good villain. Almost like a Homelander-esque Captain America to a degree, but a little bit more grounded than like The Boys is. It was really cool to see Ghost come back. I feel like she didn't have like a super big part in the Ant-Man and the Wasp film, so it was cool to see her expand as a character a little bit and be more present. And I love Florence Pugh as Yelena. And everything she's been a part of. Like, she was the best part of Hawkeye for me, the TV series, which I definitely do not recommend that show, but Yelena in it was great. Yeah, like I said, again, David Harbour did an excellent job in this film. It definitely made me laugh every time he was on the screen, and I'm just a big David Harbour fan in general, so.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised how likable the characters became. You know, as a person who was not familiar with really any of them except for a select few, like being introduced to them, having no idea about their backstory, but the charm that these characters brought, specifically like John Walker's character, playing kind of that like opposite of Captain America. Like, I haven't seen that show, so I didn't know anything about him. I just thought he was like the next Captain America or whatever. But apparently he's not, and he played the kind of charming asshole character really well. So I liked him a lot. And then yeah, Florence Pugh, she was definitely amazing in this movie. There's an emotional scene in this movie that just hits hard. It's relatable to just about everybody in the world, I think, really. And that was actually something I really liked about this movie. Is even though it was an MCU movie where there's all this crazy stuff happening, there was still this kernel of like relatability in the themes and the overarching, I don't want to say lesson, but like, message of this movie, where it's mostly just about fighting your inner demons and learning how to open up to people and things like that. So wasn't expecting that at all from this movie. It was really well written, and I actually hadn't seen anything MCU since, I think we figured it was Shang-Chi. I think that was the last MCU movie that I saw in theater, so it's been a while. And I just hadn't had interest, to be honest. I really, I would wait to see the reviews, and then when they were bad, I was like, all right, well, I guess I won't watch that one. So it's been a while, and this one for me is definitely a return to form. Where it's like, all right, we're back on track now. We got some characters that I care about. Let's see what happens. So, and I feel like a lot of people are saying that this movie's getting really good reviews.
One thing I was a little bit worried about is it's kind of poppy. Like I was kind of worried it was gonna feel more like a James Gunn type of movie, like Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy, and I did not get that vibe as much with this one. It felt more like kind of a more normal Marvel film, which I really liked and I really appreciated. Still has that kind of like buddy comedy, like squad comedy movie. I was very happy with the direction it took and some of the themes it went into, like mental health issues that the character Bob has in the movie. I feel like it went a little bit deeper than kind of your standard Marvel film in terms of some of these kind of darker themes. Falcon and the Winter Soldier went into it a little bit with John Walker's character, because in that show he kind of has essentially a breakdown where he's like kind of trying to own up to being Captain America and kind of keeping this facade of being the clean good boy, but he's really not. Cracks under the pressure, and I won't go too far into that, or I won't explain that because I don't want to spoil it for you, Marcus, or anyone else if they decide to watch it.
Another standout for me was Lewis Pullman. His acting in this movie was excellent. I really enjoyed his character. His acting just sold every single scene that he was in. Total standout for me. I will say that Ava Starr, or Ghost, she didn't have very many scenes in this movie, so I still feel like I don't really know her, but I feel like that's just going to happen in a movie like this where there's so many different characters in it that some of them are just going to fall through the cracks, and she was one for me. But everybody just really pulled their weight and did a really good job in this movie. Another standout for this movie is the action scenes. The fight scenes were so good. They were so cool to watch. Particularly the very first one that happens in this movie. Total just like eyes glued to the screen. The choreography and like seeing them fight bare knuckle with their guns and the shield and stuff. It's really cool. It's kind of a Marvel thing at this point, I guess, but really well done. There's some fight scenes and action scenes later on. All of them are really good and interesting and fun to watch. Kind of reminiscent of like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which has like the best fight scene in all of Marvel. So I think they learned from what was working, and kind of came back with this movie. To me, it feels like a reset because they acknowledge the fact that the Avengers are gone. No one's coming. Here comes these new misfits to kind of take their place. So to me, like, it definitely feels like a reset.
Talking about some things that I think didn't hold up quite as well. Like there was a couple spots that I thought that maybe the movie would have benefited from maybe a little bit more character development. I feel like kind of the last half of this movie, it didn't. I wish they would have spent a little bit more time with the characters because they end up going into the final half of this movie fighting together and fighting as a team. But I feel like it didn't quite explain or like give like a good enough reason for them to unite. That's one kind of complaint I have with the movie. It's not a big complaint. Like, I don't think it ruins the movie. For everyone except for maybe Ghost, I feel like they're all kind of bad guys, but they're all good leaning. So it's not too much of a stretch to say, hey, we're just the good guys. We're here to do the good thing. But that is something I wish they would have done a little bit more on. Like, I feel like they were working on it the whole movie. I just feel like it never got to like a satisfying, like, yes, that makes sense for me.
Yeah, I feel like there was a hard focus on Red Guardian and Yelena. Like, they had a really great character moment towards the end. Like, probably one of the best character moments I've seen in a Marvel movie, period. And the other characters don't get that at all, really. John Walker gets kind of a cool thing. There's like some scenes where they kind of go into like their deepest, darkest memories or whatever. And like I was saying, Ghost's character, we don't get to see any of that for her. So yeah, there was definitely a lack of that kind of like, and especially with where they're trying to go with these characters, which we'll expand upon in the spoiler section. It definitely left me wanting more of like, well, I need to know these characters a little bit more before you go that far.
Yeah, I definitely like you can tell Yelena is the main character of this movie. Like the
Yeah.
whole movie is essentially centered around her. And I
Hmm.
agree with you with the scenes where they're all like kind of looking back on their dark parts of their past. I really wish they would have showed more because there's kind of like a intro scene where it kind of shows off Yelena, but I kind of wish they would have done kind of a little bit of everybody like essentially doing a mission kind of thing, especially the dark past thing. I definitely think that would have added a lot to the story, but especially like Alexei, like kind of the comic relief, I feel like would have definitely benefited from like being put in like a really dark situation where he's not the comic relief. Like I feel like that would have been a great spot for him to show like a more serious side, like a more impactful side to the Red Guardian.
Yeah, and actually, I was just kind of glancing over at the casting over on my other screen, and we haven't even talked about Bucky yet. So it goes to show like how sidelined some of these characters were. They're in the story, but they're not super important. They're just here for the narrative, and not they didn't do anything truly like crazy or influential throughout the movie. Yelena was definitely the main character. And I'm okay with that. I liked her. I really like Florence Pugh. I agree with you. Everything that she's been in that I've seen has been great. Like her in Midsummer. I mean, come on. Like probably one of the best performances of like any female in a horror movie. Like that was so good. I agree with you. Minor gripe, but big enough to where I feel like it could have been worked on and made this movie even better.
I feel like Bucky had like coolest like solo scene, I guess. It's a little bit shown in the trailers, but there's kind of like a scene where they're fired upon by like armored vehicles, and Bucky kind of gets to show off there a little bit. And I like the Winter Soldier. Like I think that's my favorite Captain America movie. I'm not a huge fan of the Captain America movies, but I definitely like his character, especially from the TV show. I think Bucky really stands out in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's good in this film. He doesn't really stick out. I feel like having my knowledge from the TV show, like, supplemented, I guess, a couple of the scenes. For me, like, thinking back on that show, like, it connects really well, and I think they did a good job with his character, but you have to watch the TV show to really get the full effect on that, I guess. Like, if you've seen, like, the movies kind of thing, you know who he was, what he did, and, but you've never really seen him struggle with it until that TV show. Since he's the one that seems, well, I mean, he's kind of moved past it. He's a better person. He's tried to do something better with his life, and the rest of the team is still kind of sitting there in the kind of reality, or kind of in their slump still, before like they truly better themselves.
Yeah, so, as a person who, like I said at the beginning of this video, hasn't watched any of the Marvel TV shows, and actually not any of the Captain America movies, I was worried that I was going to feel left out of this movie, confused, not really connect with the characters because I didn't know who they were. I didn't feel that at all, so that's not an easy thing to do in a movie like this. So I was very, very surprised how much I ended up liking this movie. I think that it's the best Marvel thing that's come out in a long while, probably since Shang-Chi. And I'm excited for this next era in Marvel movies. So as far as the rating goes, I think that I would give this movie a 7.5. I really enjoyed it. I think that there was some stuff that could have been done better. It definitely still felt like one of those just cheesy, fun Marvel movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was a great watch, and I would like to watch it again. And the end credit scene really sets up something cool that we can all look forward to in the next movie. And I'm super looking forward to Fantastic Four. So, if you're kind of on the edge of seeing this movie, not seeing this movie because of the past couple of years of the MCU, I say see this movie. This is definitely a great reset for this next era of movies. And yeah, I think we're hopefully going to get back into the groove here with Marvel.
So giving it a review for myself, I'd have to say, I think I would give this movie an 8. Like I say, I did have a couple problems with it, or at least things that I wish that they delved in more to, but I do think it's a good film. It left me wanting more, so like Marcus said, I think this is kind of a good return to form for the MCU, and I'm definitely excited about what's around the corner for it. So now, spoilers.
So something that I didn't expect from this movie was the fact that there was almost two villains. So Bob, aka Sentry, and then the Void, isn't actually really much of a villain as much as he's just kind of a tragedy case. Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is actually the villain, I guess, if you look at it that way. She created Bob, and he has character flaws, and if we've learned anything from shows like The Boys, you give somebody with character flaws superpowers, they're going to get out of control and cause harm, and that's pretty much what happened. So I didn't expect that, and it was a cool twist, not being familiar with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. I still felt like perfectly fine with the way that the story went. I didn't feel like I needed to really know her. I just knew that she was, a politician and in the CIA and created this super being and all that. So yeah, it was well done. But that was kind of a cool twist.
Bob's character, their Sentry is one I've heard about. I've seen some stuff about him, but I didn't really know a whole lot about him. I've heard things where he's supposed to be the most powerful, or at least one of the most powerful people in Marvel, and seeing what he does in the movie, I can believe that. I thought his powers were cool, and I don't know. I don't think they ever exactly said what he was diagnosed with, if it was a bipolar disorder or something kind of along those lines. But I thought it was really interesting how they handled it.
I thought that fight scene where they're all trying to take Sentry down was so cool. Because throughout the movie, I guess you don't really forget that they don't have superpowers, I guess, but that part of it was pretty cool. The CGI during that part looked kind of funky here and there. But other than that, it was a pretty cool fight scene because they're trying to fight him and every single thing is just failing. He bends John Walker's shield and, just really cool. And they're punching him and he's not even moving. And yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Kind of going to the special effects kind of thing, the part where the Red Guardian takes his knife and tries to stab him and it breaks on his neck, but it looked so goofy. But other than that scene was actually really cool. Not quite Zack Snyder Superman versus the Justice League status, but it held up. I thought it was a really well done scene.
And the Void was a cool idea, pretty unique, but I liked what they did with the shadow and then sending them to that, I guess, world where they kind of relive their worst memories over and over again. Kind of a cool way of representing mental health issues and things like that. So again, I was actually very surprised with the actor that played Bob. I thought that he was really good. But and then at the end we find out that these are the new Avengers. I think that I didn't want to talk about this in the first part of this review, but the ending for me was a little wonky. The fact that these characters are the new Avengers, it just seems like they would be kind of rejected. And they do address that. They kind of have the newspaper headlines where people are pretty much rejecting them as the new Avengers. And so that was a pretty cool, they kind of knew that people wouldn't like that. So I think it's not going to last. But yeah, I was no, I don't know these characters enough, one, and they're just not the Avengers. They're not as cool. They've only had this one movie. So calling them that just seems kind of icky, I guess, is the only word I can kind of think of to say what I felt.
I think it's a really self-aware joke, especially kind of how they act at the very end. It's almost kind of like a character assassination a little bit, the Red Guardian being super extra and
with his tracksuit.
Yeah, Avengers with Z. And the whole weird thing where they're talking about trademarking the Avengers name.
Yeah, Sam has trademarked Avengers, and yeah, kind of cringy.
I think it means that it's not that even like Marvel isn't taking it that serious.
Which is good. I'm happy, because if they were taking it seriously, I don't think people would like that. And then the post-credit scene is where we get to see that the Fantastic Four is teased in this movie. So that was really cool. I'm really looking forward to the Fantastic Four. I think the casting was great. I love Pedro Pascal, obviously, so seeing him as Mr. Fantastic will be really cool. They got the Thing perfect for that movie. He just looks so comic accurate. So if it's on par with this movie, I think it's going to be a hit. And then with them entering this world and joining the new Avengers, they have some good hype at this point, I think. Yeah, I feel like, going into like the Avengers movies, we had so much steam because these characters had been built up for so long, and they were so popular, so liked by pretty much everybody. They don't have that right now. They literally have a handful of characters that people recognize. With the addition of this movie, it adds a few, but like not everybody's going to see this movie. There's still going to be some people that are like, whatever, I don't care about that. Marvel's been crap the past like couple of years. I'm just going to wait until Doomsday. They have a lot to prove at this point. It's like they really need to get some likable characters in there that people are going to be excited to see. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. He's like my number one. So, obviously I hope that they're still going to bring him in and have him in the Avengers movies and all that kind of stuff. So there's just a lot that remains to be seen, but this is definitely a glimmer of hope because it felt pretty bleak before this movie came out.
I mean, like, the Daredevil show was really good, and so I was happy to see that. I think right now is definitely a good time for Marvel again, which has been sorely needed, so, like you say.
Cool. Well, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate you watching this video. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to this channel, make sure to do that. We would greatly appreciate it, especially if you gave us a follow on social media. We need followers on social media. Please do that. If you haven't checked out the other videos in our channel, we have some reviews for the new season of The Last of Us, season 3 of Invincible, Minecraft movie. Yeah, we're building up this channel. We got some content, so check it out. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Later.